Students, today we can deal with the anatomy of pharynx. As you all know, pharynx is a common passage for both air and food. And it is seen behind the nasal cavity or nose, oral cavity or mouth and larynx. So here we can see there is a common tubular passage behind the nasal cavity, oral cavity and larynx. It extends from the base of the skull to the C6 cervical vertebrae, sixth cervical vertebrae, from the base of the skull. So base of the skull, here we can see this is the sphenoid bone and basilar part of the occipital bone. From the sphenoid bone and basilar part of the occipital bone to the sixth cervical vertebrae. It has three parts. The part of the pharynx which is seen behind the nasal cavity. This is a nasal cavity or nose. So behind the nasal cavity, this portion is known as nasopharynx, and the part seen behind the oral cavity, this is known as oropharynx, and the part seen behind the larynx, this is known as laryngopharynx. So three parts: nasopharynx, oropharynx and laryngopharynx. Then coming to the features of the nasopharynx, here we can see at the roof of the pharynx, here there are aggregation or group of lymphoid tissues can be seen. They are known as pharyngeal tonsil. Pharyngeal tonsil. Pharyngeal tonsil. So here we can see in case of children's inflammation of the pharyngeal tonsil can be seen commonly, and it is known as adenoid. So inflammation of the pharyngeal tonsil is known as adenoid. Okay. So in this diagram it is more clear. So this is the pharyngeal tonsil. Pharyngeal tonsil. Okay. Then here coming to the lateral wall of the nasopharynx, here we can see there is an opening that is known as opening of our auditory tube. So auditory tube is a tube which connects the pharynx with the ear, okay, middle ear. So this is our opening of the auditory tube, and above the opening of the auditory tube, here we can see there is an elevation or bulging that is known as tubal elevation, and within the tubal elevation also we can see some group of lymphoid tissues that is known as tubal tonsil. Okay, here we can see group of tissues that is known as pharyngeal tonsil, and on the tubal elevation there is tubal tonsil. Okay. Behind the tubal elevation, here we can see there is a depression that is known as pharyngeal recess. Okay. Pharyngeal recess, or it is known as fossa of Rosenmuller. Pharyngeal recess. Okay. Then anterior to the opening of the auditory tube, there is a small mucosal fold can be seen which connects the auditory tube with the palate. It's known as salpingo-palatine fold. Okay. And one more fold can be seen that is known as salpingopharyngeal fold, which connects the auditory tube with the pharynx. Okay. So salpingo-palatine fold and salpingopharyngeal fold. Okay. Inside the salpingopharyngeal fold, we have the salpingopharyngeus muscle. Okay. So these are the features of the nasopharynx. Nasopharynx. Okay. And coming to the features of the oropharynx, so in the lateral wall of the oropharynx has only one feature, that is the palatine tonsil. Okay. So this palatine tonsil is seen inside the fossa that is known as tonsillar fossa. Tonsillar fossa. This is an almond shaped fossa. Anterior to the fossa we can see one more mucosal fold which connects the palate to the tongue. Okay. And this is known as palatoglossal fold. Palatoglossal fold. Okay. So this is the palatoglossal fold, and here we can see one more fold which connects the palate to the pharynx, palatopharyngeal fold. So two fold can be seen, palatoglossal fold and palatopharyngeal fold. So between the palatoglossal fold and palatopharyngeal fold, we can see a depression that is known as tonsillar fossa. So within the tonsillar fossa, there is a group of lymphoid tissue that is known as palatine tonsil. So when we will heard about the tonsillitis. So when we are telling about tonsillitis, we are only telling about the palatine tonsil. Okay, so this is the palatine tonsil. Then coming to the laryngopharynx, here also we can see only one feature that is known as piriform fossa. Okay, piriform fossa is a depression seen in the laryngopharynx, a small depression seen inside the laryngopharynx, that is known as piriform fossa. So the importance for the piriform fossa is the internal laryngeal nerve passes deep to the fossa and reaches the larynx. Okay, so deep to the mucosa of the piriform fossa, we can see the internal laryngeal nerve. Then this piriform fossa is always also known as smuggler's fossa, because the smugglers will deepen this fossa and they will keep their smuggling products or precious materials or stones inside this fossa and they will do the smuggling. Okay. So that is known as smuggler's fossa also. Okay. And there is another applied aspect for the smuggler's fossa or the piriform fossa, as it is closely related to the internal laryngeal nerve. You know, the food particles passes through the mouth and passes through the pharynx. Okay, and by passing through the pharynx, it crosses the piriform fossa. Okay, if we are eating any sharp edge particles, that is chicken bones or fish bones, like that sharpened particles, it may damage the piriform fossa and also it can cause injury to the internal laryngeal nerve. So internal laryngeal nerve supplies the sensory supply for the larynx, the upper part of the larynx. So if the internal laryngeal nerve get affected, the sensation of the upper part of the larynx also will get lost. Okay. So that is the importance of the piriform fossa. Okay. Then we have already seen so many tonsils here. So all these tonsils will form a ring surrounding the opening of the nasal cavity and the oral cavity. Okay, so they forms a ring. So superiorly we can see this is the pharyngeal tonsil. Then inferiorly here comes our lingual tonsil. You are already seen the tonsils inside the mouth. Okay, posterior one third of the tongue, we can see the lingual tonsil. So superiorly there will be pharyngeal tonsil, inferiorly there is lingual tonsil. Then on either side here we have this is one side, so another side also will be there. So either side there will be tubal tonsil and also palatine tonsil. So this is a diagrammatic representation of the Walder's ring. So this is Walder's ring. Here we can see superiorly this will be pharyngeal tonsil, inferiorly there is a lingual tonsil, and on either side tubal tonsil and also palatine tonsil. So this is forms a ring around the nasal cavity and the oral cavity. So it is known as Walder's ring. Walder's ring. Then coming to the muscles of the larynx, there are two types of muscles can be seen in the larynx. One is circularly arranged muscles, another is longitudinal muscle. Okay, so the circularly arranged muscles are known as constrictor muscles. So there are three constrictors. In this diagram you can see three constrictor muscles. So upper portion we can see this is the superior constrictor muscle, this is the middle constrictor muscle, this is the inferior constrictor muscle. So three circular muscles or constrictor muscles can be seen: superior constrictor, middle constrictor and inferior constrictor. Okay. Then here we can see longitudinal muscles also. Here this is our styloid process. This is the posterior view of our pharynx. Okay, so the back view. Okay, so here we can see this is the styloid process. From the styloid process arises one muscle going towards the pharynx. So this is known as stylopharyngeus. Stylopharyngeus. This is one of the longitudinal muscle. Here we can see this is also the posterior view, but we cut the wall of the pharynx to see the interior of the pharynx. Okay, so that we can see anteriorly this will be the nasal cavity. Here we can see this is our tongue, this is the palate, this is the larynx. So this space is our pharynx. Okay, pharynx. So this is our auditory tube. So from the auditory tube we can see one muscle is coming downward. This is known as salpingopharyngeus muscle. Salpingopharyngeus. Okay, then this is the palate. From the palate we can see one more longitudinal muscle. This is palatopharyngeus. So three longitudinal muscles: stylopharyngeus, salpingopharyngeus and palatopharyngeus muscle. Three muscles. Here also we can see the section cut part of the constrictor muscle. This is superior constrictor muscle, this is middle constrictor muscle, this is inferior constrictor muscle. So three constrictor muscles and three longitudinal muscles. Okay. Coming to the origin of the constrictor muscles, just go through the origin, okay, not in detail. So this is our pterygoid process, okay. This is lateral pterygoid plate, okay. So the tip of the pterygoid part, medial pterygoid plate, that there will be a hook-like projection that is known as pterygoid hamulus. Okay. There will be pterygoid hamulus, and this pterygoid plate is connected to the mandible by the pterygomandibular raphe. This white line you can see. Okay. And this is the mandible, and here comes the tongue. Okay. So this is our superior constrictor muscle. The superior constrictor muscle origin from the pterygoid hamulus, pterygomandibular raphe, the mandible, and tongue. So this is the origin of the superior constrictor. So this is the superior constrictor muscle, superior constrictor. Okay. So origin from pterygoid hamulus, pterygomandibular raphe, mandible, and tongue, superior constrictor. Okay. And this is our middle constrictor muscle. So middle constrictor, you can see it. This is our hyoid bone. Okay. So middle constrictor origin from the greater cornu and lesser cornu of the hyoid bone, and also from the stylomandibular ligament. This is styloid process. Some stylo process and hyoid bone is connected by a ligament, stylohyoid, sorry, not stylomandibular, stylohyoid ligament. Okay. So middle constrictor origin from the hyoid bone and stylohyoid ligament. This is the inferior constrictor. Inferior constrictor origin from the, this is our thyroid cartilage, thyroid. Origin from the thyroid cartilage and from the cricoid cartilage. This is the cricoid cartilage. So inferior constrictor origin from thyroid cartilage and cricoid cartilage. So this is the inferior constrictor. So these are the three constrictors: superior constrictor, middle constrictor, and inferior constrictor. Okay. Then these longitudinal muscles. So it is the longitudinal muscles. Three longitudinal muscles are there. So you can see origin of the longitudinal muscles, or salpingopharyngeus muscle. Salpingopharyngeus origin from the auditory tube inserted into the thyroid cartilage. Then palatopharyngeus origin from the palate inserted into the thyroid cartilage. Then stylopharyngeus origin from the styloid process inserted into the thyroid cartilage. Okay. So all the three longitudinal muscles get inserted into the thyroid cartilage. Okay. So that is longitudinal muscles. Then coming to the nerve supply of the muscle, pharynx. The pharynx is supplied by the sensory supply is by the pharyngeal plexus. Okay. And motor supply, all the muscles of the pharynx is supplied by pharyngeal plexus except stylopharyngeus. The stylopharyngeus is supplied by glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay. All the other muscles are supplied by the pharyngeal plexus except stylopharyngeus. Stylopharyngeus is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay. Then coming to the blood supply of the pharynx. So upper part of the pharynx is supplied by ascending pharyngeal artery, and the middle portion it is supplied by the middle portion of the pharynx is supplied by lingual artery and branches from the maxillary artery. The lower portion it is supplied by the base tonsillar branches of the facial artery. Coming to the venous drainage, all the veins which drains into the seen in the pharynx forms a plexus, pharyngeal plexus of veins, and finally they drains into internal jugular vein. Then so this is the blood supply and nerve supply of the pharynx. Okay. Then coming to the applied anatomy of pharynx. So pharynx, we already seen this tonsils. Okay. The inflammation of the pharyngeal tonsil is known as adenoid. Okay. And surgical removal of the adenoid is known as adenoidectomy. Okay. And the inflammation of the palatine tonsil is known as tonsillitis. Okay. And in the inflammation of the infection or inflammation of the pharynx is known as pharyngitis. Okay. And coming